Hello, everyone. We are live here in Inkarnate Town. Today, we are going to be creating a character sheet with our masterclass session today. Before we jump into that, though, I want to quickly just do a real quick announcement. We're going to be doing some changes to the stream schedule. Over on our Discord server, we did a poll to kind of figure out what was the best time and day to do streams, and we kind of found out that Fridays work best. So we're going to be shifting up the schedule and changing our regular Wednesday schedule for streams over to Friday. So it'll still be at 3 p.m. PST, just so you know. And then we're going to shift our master classes from Mondays over to Wednesdays. So that's going to be some changes that we're going to be doing. We're also going to be doing some new types of streams. For instance, we're going to be doing some Discord streams where we're going to be doing a workshops, and I believe our very own Philip, a master world, a map maker, will be hosting those two workshops, and we'll be doing other workshops in the future. Feel free to let us know what kind of streams you want to see. You want to see a Discord workshop for battle maps or certain types of battle maps or whatever. We'll make sure to cover that for you guys, okay? So that's, and we're also going to be moving forward streaming some of the working on our weekly map prompts. Every single month we have a little calendar that kind of gives us all the different map prompts that we do for the week, and we're going to go ahead and be adding a stream for that. So we'll do our first one next month, just one. We'll see how that goes, and then we'll probably do more if that does well. Okay, now that we've kind of done that quick announcements, let's just jump right into character sheets. First of all, what is a character sheet? Basically, it's going to be what you use for tracking a character's stats, traits, details, whatever. All of that stuff is going to be tracked on here, and it's generally for like a tabletop game. For instance, D&D is one of them. There's Pathfinder. There's tons of different ones, and then you can also make your own homebrew, which I'll be showing you as well, how to create your own homebrew skill sheets, because some people love making these things. They love doing homebrew, and so I'll show you how to put those together. So now that you know what a character sheet is for, let's go over some examples. One I've made is right here. And you'll notice that it has the kind of components, the character name, the basic information, ability scores, your skills, your equipment, spells, AC, speed, initiative, and then all your kind of information. This is kind of where you fit a lot of your character stuff onto one sheet. But, you know, you don't have to have it all be on one sheet. It could be multiple pages. It's just really up to you how you want to go about doing that. Let's kind of go over some other ones here. So another kind of format would be like maybe in a book like this with landscape, where I'm kind of using different shapes. So this also is very similar. It has the name, the race, the class, the different ability scores, the skills, the armor class, and so on, with much as its details. You're also going to have sheets within your character sheet set that might include your equipment. This was a homebrew equipment sheet that I made that covers all the different body parts. It has the backpack as well as a section for potions and a unique item. And then, of course, you're also going to want to, you know, if you want to, you could also make homebrew backpack screens where you kind of use your equipment and fit them inside of a grid. I've done this homebrew before with some of my players. Sometimes they like it, sometimes they don't. It just depends on what the campaign is and what's going on. One of the general rules is I try not to overcomplicate things. Players get turned off easily when things are super complicated. I mean, especially if they're a new player, they're going to get confused easily. If they're a veteran player, then it's easier for them to kind of grasp homebrew systems and things like that. So try to simplify things, especially for your newer players, because it's easy for them to get discouraged. And the last kind of thing you might find in your character sheets is like a spell sheet. This one right here has pages 1 and 2. Normally what I'll do is I'll have page 1 be a group, and then you can just drop the opacity on it to go to the next page and the next page and the next page. It's kind of how I put that together. These links to all of these character sheets and these pages will be included in the video description on YouTube. I'm not going to put them here on Twitch, because I kind of feel like Twitch does not properly let you put down the links and space everything out properly. So we'll leave that to there. So let's now open up a character sheet and kind of break it down into sections. Now, I just want you to know that when I break this down, it's just the way that I broke it down to simplify it so that I can show you each section and how to put it together. But there are so many different ways that you can organize and put together character sheets. It can be multiple pages. It can all be jam-packed into one page. So there's a lot of different ways to kind of approach it. And so just kind of think about how you want to do it. All right, so let's break down each section. And remember, these are not official sections. The way that I kind of see this again is just basically just simplified it so that you kind of get the general idea on how it works. So the very first section is basically going to be your basics. And the basics can include things like, let's go ahead and think you can see it here. It's going to be things like your level, your character name, the profile picture. It's going to include your class, your race, your alignment, faction, background. It could also include things like your hit points, which could be health points, or you could call it vitality, life, or your MP, your mana points, health, magic points, whatever system that you're kind of working with. Those are kind of the basic stats. And so I generally put them in that basics panel, and that can be anywhere on the sheet, depending on the aspect ratio that you're working with. The next section is what I call skills or ability scores and skills. Okay, so that's going to include stuff like your basic 6, like your strength, your dexterity, constitution, your intelligence, wisdom, or charisma, or whatever stats or whatever basic abilities that you want, right? Dexterity can mean something else. Strength can mean vitality or ability or whatever it is you want. So if you're doing a homebrew, you just need to change up what things are. And what I try to do is simplify it so it's just easier, okay? So within that section, again, you'll have those basic scores for your abilities, as well as like your skills that might include saving throws, inspiration, proficiency bonuses, passive wisdom perception, other proficiencies in languages, which actually could be moved over to this section over here with the details, but we'll cover that in a little bit. So that kind of covers that second section. So the first one is basics. The second one is going to be your ability scores and your skills, which might include these other items. The next is like your actions and basically equipment. So actions are going to be like attacks and spells, your equipment. You could also include armor class, speed, initiative, hit points, temporary hit dice, saves. Those things also I put into what I call that action section. So that's that middle panel that you see right there. That last panel to the right is what I call character details. That's going to be things like personality traits, ideals, bonds, flaws, features, traits, and they can be different things. You don't have to call it ideals. You could call it ideology, belief system. Bonds could be friends. You could also include your nemesis if you have a nemesis or an arch enemy. Flaws could also be weaknesses. You could call features something else. So when you're creating it, you can be creative about what each thing is. You don't have to follow it to a T. So just kind of be sure that you just be open to changing things. But those 4 sections, I think, are the easiest way to do it. The basics, ability score, skills, your actions, and then your character details. Okay. Now, when you are deciding that you want to make a character sheet, you first have to decide on the aspect ratio. The aspect ratio, there are usually 2 that I see people use. The first one, and the easy one, is going to be your portrait, because that works with A1 paper so that you can print it, right? This is going to be your portrait aspect ratio. Now, you can use a landscape as well, because it's just portrait rotated at a 90. And so it will be that same aspect ratio just flipped. And so that way it will still work on A1 printing. The other thing you should know is that you probably want it to be black and white, because you're going to be printing it. Otherwise, it's going to be a huge strain on your printer with all that ink that you're printing. And I'll show you how to do the black and white thing. We'll use filters on how to do that, okay? That'll be super important. So you need to decide the aspect ratio. I think just because it's just easier to stick with the portrait for printing, we'll do it with that. So create new map. And it doesn't really matter which style you use. If you have Pro, it doesn't really matter. So you could do bandle maps, you could do parchment, whatever you want. I'll do parchment world because I kind of feel that this will limit the color palette. It will be easier to use a black and white filter. And that way there won't be so much gray. It will be more black and white, closer to that. So that way it will be easier for printing, because the hard part is making it printable. So I'll choose that style. I'm going to choose portrait. I'm going to go Ultra 4K. Again, if you don't have a powerful device or a strong internet, I recommend that you edit in maybe 2 or 3K. But if you have a powerful machine, switch over to 4K. And that way things won't be quite as blurry. It'll be easier to work with. One of the first things that I'll do is turn the grid on, because the grid is how I'm going to use to organize things. Now, right now, we don't have snap to grid for the isometric and the hexes, but we do for the squares. So make sure that you have the square set up. And these squares are really small. So what I'll do is I'll just cut them in half and make it 15. And now I have some nice squares, and I can use the snap to grid option to make sure that my sections are put together and evenly lined up. All right, so that first step is to pick the right aspect ratio and then to turn the grid on to make sure that things snap together. Now, what was the first thing that we talked about when you are, for the sections, when putting together one? The first section is the basics, okay? Now, when I think of the basics, I have this kind of method that I use for putting together the layout, and that is that the very first thing that I generally think of when in the character basics is the profile picture. It could be a profile like a bust from the shoulders up, or it could be a full body picture. You need to have some kind of placeholder, a frame or a plaque or a legend or something for that character image to be. And wherever that character image is where all the other information will be. So if you make the profile frame first and then align it to the top left, top right, bottom right, middle, or wherever you want it to be, everything else will have to go around that. So start with the profile picture first. We're going to use the shape tool. And what I'll do is I'm going to just use lines for right now instead of using stamps to do the wall part. Because again, I just don't want to waste ink, because you're going to be printing a lot of these out, right? And so you want to make sure that you save on your ink. Now, it doesn't mean you can't have beautiful, colorful ones, but I generally find it more helpful to not have super amount of details on character sheets just to save your printer. So I'll make sure that snap to grid is on. And what I'll do is I'm going to choose the brownish color that exists without a stamp. So let me put a stamp down. You can kind of see what I'm talking about. You see this brown outline that exists? I'm going to go ahead and use that color. We don't have an eyedropper, so what I'll end up doing is I can just place a stamp down, and then I'm going to put down the shape here. And then from here, I can kind of zoom in, and I can choose the color. And I've already kind of got it right around this kind of reddish, brownish color. We could push it a little bit to orange to kind of give it that color. And I'll bring the stroke size up so that I can really see it. And then I'm going to put it right next to it. And it seems to be around the right color. So that works out good. Now that I have that, it should be saved in my shapes. Here it is right here. So to snap to grid, I'm going to make the frame for the picture. Now, if you're just doing a bust, a circle or a square, works fine. If you're not sure what a bust is, it's from the shoulder up. But if you're doing the full character picture, you might want to do an oval or a rectangle. This will allow for more room for the character's image to fit in there. Once you've created that, you might want to decide to make a banner of some kind for the character's name. You might want to add some elements for the level, and you might want to add the stuff for the traits, the background, the race, the class, and all the other stuff. So we'll start with the banner first. We'll go into the catalog, and we can type in banner. They see that they're right here, so this works fine. I'm going to stick with the ones that have a clipping mask for now. I think that'll work just fine. And what I'll do is that because these use a clipping mask, what's really cool is I can just go to this texture right here that I'm using for the BG, select it here, and I'm going to go foreground and fill. There we go. So now the background and the FG layer have the same color, and this way it should be able to print. Now I could just straight up do white, but we'll use this because I like the texture. It looks nice, but you'll definitely want to desaturate it all and make it white so that way it just won't be as printer heavy. Now what you use for the banner is up to you. It could be as simple as just a square or a rectangle or whatever. So this will be the banner for where the character name is. We're going to add some more stuff as well. What about their level? So let's put that there. What I'm also going to do is we're going to choose fill. I'm going to go choose the texture. I'm going to choose that same texture. So this way, when I go over it like this, push it up a layer, it won't show the line behind it. So we can also put this here. This is going to represent the level, and we'll put it right here in the corner right here. So that will be where the level is. Now, remember what I said? It's all about wherever the orientation of the profile, wherever that is, that's going to determine the layout. So if you want to have all the different stats going around it, like this, you can have it centered. if you want to have it to the top left right here, then all the other data is going to be going around that. So wherever you decide to place the profile picture or the picture for your character, that you'll be able to put all the other elements around it. So that's a great way to figure out the layout. Start with that first when you do it, okay? Oopsie, my mistake there. Okay, let's go ahead and create group, and I'm going to call it profile frame or profile image or frame. Create, and we're going to put it right here. I'm going to go ahead and also just put some text in here, and the way that I go about it is the same thing. I'm going to use that brownish color, and so I can just go in, and one thing you can do is this. You can open it up, select this, go into color, and just copy this color right here. Then I can go right over to text, and then put that same color right into here, paste, press enter, and I should have that same color on there as well. Let's go ahead and bring, oopsie, didn't save, 1 second. Oh, here it is right here, my mistake. I put it in opacity. There we go. Okay, so now you have the text. And of course, you're going to want to choose what kind of text you want. I'll just stick with the basic, the IMFL English, and we're just going to call it player name. Okay, we'll change the text so it fits into it. And what I'll also do is that I won't have the player name be within here. I'm going to make all the text be on top of everything. So that way I don't have to open up each section every time I want to edit the text. So we'll do that. The next is going to be level. So, and we'll just say 1 for now. Let's just do 1. And I'll just put that into here. Goes right into that center there. I'm going to turn snap to grid off. So that would be the level. And then you can even put a little banner if you want underneath it, if you wanted to show that it was the level. So if you want, you can flip like this and then just type in level like that, just in case it's not clear, like what is this for? What is that little circle right there? So just punch in level right here. And then I'll go ahead and curve it. There we go. And then just put it right inside of here. I'll rotate a little bit, make sure that it fits. And now you have the level as well on there. So now you have the frame, the text, and that's that first section, right? So I'll go ahead and make sure that I snap to grid. I want to make sure that everything snaps to grid. There we go. That looks fine. So the next is to add those next stats, right? I'm going to go ahead and open up another window real quick. And we're going to open up one of those guides real quick. I just want to make sure, because I don't have every single thing memorized. There's quite a bit to cover here. So we're going to want to add in next things like your class, race, alignment, faction. You could also include your hit points as well. So if you wanted to include your HP, MP, you could do that. So I'll just copy and paste this right here, this one here. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and put a spot to put whatever the HP is. So we'll put this here, here, and I'll flip one. And I think what I'll also do is I'll place these behind it and make it look like they're kind of going off of it like that. There we go. Okay. Then we can take that text like we did. Oopsie, let's not use that one. Let's use this one. I hope this is kind of making sense for everyone. Let's select this text right here because I think this works better. Kind of hard to get in it. There we go. We'll type in HP. Again, HP could be health points, hit points. You could call it vitality, whatever it is you want, right? So let's go ahead and put that in there. I'll turn snap to grid off. Quick, we'll put HP right here. And then we can copy paste, put the next one right here. And this can be MP. Again, mana points, magic points, whatever you want it to be. Again, these are all the basic stats right here. You maybe want to push them closer together like this if you want to create more room. Just know that if you're going to fit all of those all 4 sections onto one page, you're going to need a lot of room. So don't create this very big spaces between the elements. You want to put them real close together so that way you won't have to be fighting hard to make more sheets. So if you're putting it all onto one sheet, this is the kind of way to go about doing it. So I'll bring those real close together. And in fact, I'll kind of move this over to here to maximize the space. So I'll select all of these and move it over to here like this. And I'll just line it up kind of with the grid. I'll push this in a little bit more. There we go. Perfect. Okay, HP, MP. And then from here, we'll add in that next section. Oopsie, I don't want to use a circle. I'm going to use a square. And you don't have to use shapes like squares and stuff to fit in there to separate it, but you can. So I'll kind of use this right here. I'll bring this down right here. And I think I'll turn off the fill. We don't really need it. There's not going to be a whole lot of things behind it. So I'll select this, turn that fill off. And then we'll go over to the character sheet. We're going to add class, race. We can include alignment, faction, all of those things. We'll start with class first. That kind of makes sense. And I'm going to turn snap to grid on. We'll do that class. And then what's great is you can just use the line tool to kind of create straight lines to represent your class. Right here again. And we can push it right here if you want it here or if you want it to be up to here. Again, it depends where to put the lines in the text. Really determines on how much space you have. If you don't have a lot of space, then you're going to want to reconsider things. That's just the way it works. So I'll copy and paste and make a bunch of these. And then we'll change the text to represent different things, right? So class was the first one. We're also going to want to include race, if applicable, right? And then we'll add our alignment and faction. And I think what I'll end up doing is I'll fit it in like this. Make it a little bit bigger. We can maybe push it to the side like this. Okay, copy, paste, there we go. All right. So we'll go ahead and add an alignment. Whether they're good, they're bad, they're whatever it might be. Okay, it's kind of a longer one. And I'll show you how to do this. Instead of having the lines kind of all being at different lengths, you would just push the lines all the way to the right and the text all the way to the left, so that way there's some kind of continuity with the lines and they go straight. Let's also add faction. And faction could also be like your affinities, whatever you're a part of. So faction, there we go. Push this over to here. And then we'll push these all the way over to here. And then you can select all of these. Oopsie, my mistake. Let's go ahead and lock this so I don't accidentally select it. Select all of these right here. Oopsie, did that not work? Alt lock, there we go. Okay, now I can select all of these and just put center horizontally and they'll all line up properly. There you go. And now you have your class, your race, your faction, all that stuff is there that fits right there into that space. Let's go ahead and save it real quick. We're going to call it basic character sheet. I'm not even sure we'll be able to get to every single part of it. We'll try to fit everything in. We can always do a part 2 if people kind of feel like, well, I'm not really, how to put it all together. Because making character sheets is a little time consuming because there's just so much text and little line spaces that you have to create for your players to fill in their information. Let's go ahead and push this over to the side a little bit, over to here. We'll create some room. And I'm just going to select this right here, the whole thing. And I'm just going to go ahead and create group, and we're going to call it basics. Okay, so that first section is done, the basics. Player name, the levels, the HP, the MP, the class, race, alignment, and faction. Those next parts, again, is going to be your strength, going to be your ability scores. So the way that I would go about doing this is because we've kind of put this section right here like this. Let's go ahead and unlock this real quick. My mistake. We're going to undo. I forgot to unlock that. There we go. Make sure this is all unlocked here. There we go. Now I can select all these, create group, basics. Now, because I put this here, I won't be able to put, I wouldn't be able to decorate nicely my ability scores to go around this oval shape right here because I pushed this here. You could totally do that and then push it like this to arrange it, because once you've put together all the elements, you could even move them around and place them wherever you want them to be. That's one of the more beautiful things about it, is that you can always just move things around if you're not satisfied with where they're at. So let's go ahead and do the ability scores. I'm just going to use these same circles. You're going to notice that there's going to be a lot of repetition of use with these. So kind of make sure that you kind of get used to that idea. And there's going to be 6 of them. So we'll place 6 down at a time for now. We'll try doing double spaced in between to see if we can kind of fit them in. I don't think it's going to work out that way. So we just want to make sure that we kind of space them out right. And I'm going to have them go all the way across the page. So I'm going to try to space these out a little bit here. Here we go. Here. Make some space. Here. There we go. Okay. Then just select them all. Go to Align Center Vertically. Now they're all aligned like this. So now those 6 elements are put together. Now I can just use this, and I should stick with the same kind of continuity with the frame or the banner on how to put it together. So I'll put this banner down. I'm going to scale it up, and that way I can kind of push it in like this. And then I can kind of just put it right here like this. So copy, paste. In fact, what I might end up doing is making this a little bit smaller. And then we'll play around a little bit with the transform. Play with the width. I think about there looks good. And then this is going to be where each text is going to be. So strength, dexterity, all of that stuff. Copy, paste, and we'll go ahead and place these on top. That's right. You could totally do that. But what we'll do first, though, Jonathan Frost, great. Absolutely agree with you. Yeah, you could totally do that. But we'll go ahead and make each individual part. And then once you've made each individual part, then you can move them around. So we don't have to stick with this format. We will end up changing it, which is super cool because that's what's so great about creating your own and making each section first. Then you can move them around. You can scale them, make them bigger, make them smaller, edit them, whatever you want. So that's kind of the beauty of kind of making each section first, and then you can maneuver them around. So I just want to make sure that everything is lined up properly, and then we'll add in our text. So I think strength was the first one. Let me just double check. Yeah, it was strength, dexterity. So we'll add this. Strength, just put it right inside of there. The next one, dexterity. Put that in there. We're also going to include constitution. A little bit of a longer one. And if that kind of happens, you just have to scale it down a little bit. So just do this and scale it down. You could change to make the banner bigger, but I generally just change the text so that way I don't have this really awkward long banner compared to the other ones. So that's kind of my approach when I'm putting it together, just so you know. Go ahead and select this text. Go to the next one. We've also got intelligence. It might be another long word, so we'll go ahead and put it down in here. Okay. Oops. Oopsie. I do believe I can make this just a little bit bigger. So it should be able to fit in here a little bit more. Intelligence. Perfect. Let's go ahead and add some more to it. Let's see what we've got. Wisdom and then charisma. I think we can bring the text up for that. Wisdom. And then charisma. Okay. All right, so now that you have those done, now you can just go ahead and group them. I'm going to group them all. Oopsie. Create group. I'm going to label them in just a moment. It's just that time is just moving so quickly because making these are a little time consuming. Enter, we're going to group. Just press that G key when you have something selected. It will select it all. G key, group, okay. You know, what Jonathan Frost was saying earlier was that you could just move these and have them wrap around it. Let me show you what they were talking about. You could just do this. And I've seen a lot of character sheets do this, where they just kind of put the ability scores like this around it, which looks perfect, by the way. It doesn't look bad. I think this honestly just looks great. You can totally do this. It works out just fine. You can do that if you want. And then you can just go in right here and then just scale this down if you want and have it like this if you wanted to fit it in. See, that's the beauty of it. Now that we've put some of those pieces together, now you can easily, you know, maneuver them and put them around. So I really like that. And then from here, just to finish off the basic section, we can just throw in another box that's going to be background. And I'll have it be to where it fits in right here like this. In fact, I could just go back into here and just select this whole one right here. Press enter. And then just line it up like this. And then I can just put background in here. Okay, and we'll make it bigger text like this. There you go. And then you can put it up here or down here. wherever you want. And if you want to include some kind of lines for your players to write on, you can do that. So just go ahead and put the line down like that, and then just copy and paste the lines down like this so that you have room to write that text. There you go. And or you can fill it in with other things like traits and whatever. It's up to you. That's the beauty of this thing, is that you can always just change things to whatever you feel you need to do. So I'll go ahead and change this one, create group, we'll call it background. There you go. All right. So it's starting to come together. You're seeing how to make them, not complex, super easy, and really quite fun to make in my opinion. So we'll go ahead and push this down, make sure they're kind of leveled out. And so now that we have the basics done, this is quite large. Let's turn the grid off just to kind of see what it looks like. Yeah, it looks good. It's coming together well. I might want to maybe move this down a little bit more here. I could even scale it up a tad just to give it a larger size. I think that should do well. There we go. I can even kind of move this thing a little bit this way if I need to. Yeah, let's do that. Move this out of the way a little bit. There we go. Okay, looks good. All right, let's go ahead and save it. So making a character sheet so far, pretty easy stuff. You just need to make each section at a time. Like like a broken record, I keep saying, just make each section first, group, and then you can maneuver them around. I think that's kind of the easiest approach. So let's kind of go into the next one, which is going to be your skills, which are basically decided by your ability scores. So we'll have to go through all these different little skill parts right here. And again, once you start kind of running out of room, then you might want to be more careful about putting everything together. So let's go ahead and, because we're running out of room going down, looks like a lot of things are going to have to be more oriented going across the page. So I'll just go ahead and create a square that I'm going to be using to put my abilities or my skills within. So I'll go ahead and just kind of place it out about this size. Looks good. I'm going to place it right down here, and I'm going to place it next to where the ability scores are, because your skills are influenced by your ability scores or your basic stats like that. And so it kind of makes sense to put your ability scores and your skills next to each other because they influenced each other, right? So it only makes sense to put them there. Now, you don't have to label it skills. Not every section needs to be labeled. You can do that. It might take more space, but it's up to you. You can if you want. Because we're already kind of going that way, we'll just go ahead and do that. So let's use another banner like this, and we're going to put it right on top, and we'll just call this skills. Oopsie, skills. There we go. Oopsie, there are 2 L's in skills. Well, no, now there's 2 S's. Okay, we'll go ahead and turn that off, and we'll just go ahead and put that right in here. Not every section needs to have a background, but you totally can. Let's go ahead and use, hey, Nimue, welcome. Glad to have you here. Awesome. All right. So let's go through each ability here. So we'll start with acrobatics. And first we'll make the little line. And we're going to put them all down first, and then we'll organize them within the space. So don't worry about making it perfect at first. Just make each one. So I'm going to decide how much space I want for each ability. And I'm going to do a snap to grid here, just so it's just this length right here. Because you look at this, you don't need a giant line space for your skills. So that's not necessary. Go and put that here. Let's go put acrobatics first. Okay. Put that down. I'm going to turn snap to grid off. I don't need it anymore. I'm just going to place it right next to it like this. Once I've done that, now I can just copy and paste and make a bunch of these, and then we'll change the text as we go. Now, how many of these are there exactly? Skills 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, so that can be split up. All right. Let's go ahead and add one more here. And we're just going to copy and paste that row of stuff right here. Copy, paste. We'll move it over to here. All right. We might have to change up the size. Let's go ahead and lock this so it doesn't get in the way. Yes, there is a lot. But it is so worth it. These are, again, just, so, in my opinion, a lot of fun to make. I have found that my players really like it when I take the time to make their own custom character sheets for them. It kind of tells them that I'm dedicated to them, that I am putting things together. I'll even make custom sheets for them depending on, you know, the kind of style, the art that they want. Like if they're an elven archer or something, then I'll make an elven theme for the sheet. For now, we're just kind of going with the basic, what basic sheets kind of look like. We can do another stream in the future. If this becomes a popular stream or topic for this, then we can dive into more. So far, there's not a lot of people here at this stream, so who knows? We could do a part 2. We'll just kind of see where people are at. I'm going to go ahead and space these out. There we go. Okay, so acrobatics is the first one. Let me move this out of the way too, because some of those texts are going to be longer. Hey, Totally a Rogue. Glad that you are here. Acrobatics. Let's go ahead and add animal handling. So much to work on here. Animal handling. And don't worry about making sure that they're lined up properly quite yet. We'll get to that later. Let's go ahead and add the next one, Arcana. There's just so much text when making a character sheet, isn't there? Endless amounts of text. Let's do athletics. Okay, just keep going. Just gonna keep going. We'll add in deception. Okay, cool. Keep going. Let's add in another one. History. We got history. We have insight. Oopsie, I did that wrong. That's that's the wrong kind of insight. I'm gonna instigate it. Okay, we got insight there. Oh, I totally agree, Jonathan. Okay, let's keep going here. We've got intimidation, investigation. Intimidation, we've got investigation. Okay, there's quite a few. We'll have to keep changing things up a little bit more. I've got medicine. Yep. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. You could totally use heraldry. I've done that before. Totally a rogue. Works great. Yeah. I mean, there's so many different ways to make a character sheet. I mean, it's nuts. Like, there's not really one kind of way to go about doing it. So that's why I'm just going to show the basics in this one. And if this does well, then we can maybe make another one where there's probably a little bit more details. We can do different themes and things like that. That's the beautiful about these streams is we don't have to make it just one part. We can continue on, make another one. So I'm just kind of fitting these in here real quick. Medicine, there we go. The reason why I'm leaving them in the box is just to kind of feel like the spacing, like what am I working with? How much more space will I need to make sure to fit all these different things inside of here? And see, I'm kind of putting it together just to see the space that I need. Let's go ahead and copy and paste, put down another one. I should be able to fit one more in here, and we can add in the last bit, okay? So we've also got, we left with nature, I believe, so let's go with that one. We've got perception. Yeah, if you guys are used to making your own character sheets, feel free to share any of your techniques or ideas. I love that already there's a couple people in the chat who are kind of sharing how they look at things and how they want to change things up. I love that. Please share what your ideas, because the character sheet, when I went online and looked up all the different types of them, there's so many different types of designs and stuff that exist. And so there's so many different things that you can do, right? So don't limit yourself. I'm just kind of giving you the basics. Performance. What do we got here? We still have persuasion and religion. Oopsie, I want to make sure that I kind of keep continuity, capital P there. Don't have it to where you might have one word be capitalized and another one not, or have one in all caps and one doesn't. Try to keep some kind of continuity in the text, so that way it's just easier. We got performance, persuasion, religion, and we have a couple more as well that we'll have to add in. There's not much space left. And it's okay if we move them over. I'll show you a cool trick here. We'll move these to the side and we're going to stack some more. Let's see here. The last couple are sleight of hand, stealth, and survival. So we've got sleight of hand. And this is just really, again, it's really, for me, it's the text that's the most time consuming. Making the fields for everything is super easy. It's not that difficult. Let's add on stealth. Oh, already 40 after, and we haven't even gotten to the last part, but it's okay. They could be. I'm not entirely sure. It really depends on the VTT, by the way. First time chatter, Lavine 7C. I don't really know. It depends on the thing that you're, the virtual tabletop that you're using. So whether it's Foundry or another one or Roll20 or whatever it is you're using, it's up to you. I don't really know. So I do a lot of my stuff in person, though I have done some VTT. Let's go ahead and add in the last bit here. We've got stealth, survival. So, oh, survival. So we just got to put this one right here, survival. Okay, now how is it that I'm going to fit all of these in here? Not complex, pretty easy stuff. What I'll end up doing is just stacking them up. So I'll put one here, and I'll put history right here. And then we can go ahead and put insight. And these ones, move them up. We'll put two more down over here. Put them in here like this. And then what are we going to do? Add these last bit right here. Put them on top. And there you go. Evenly placed. So 6. 3 rows of 6. There you go. So now you were able to fit them all in there pretty easily. Let's go ahead and select them all and then make sure that they're kind of lined up properly. So I'll use this grid right here to line things up properly. There you go. Okay, so now you have all your skills lined up. We'll go ahead and unlock this. I'm going to go ahead and turn the grid off. It's always good to turn the grid off and kind of just take a look at things. I'm going to go ahead and select it, create group. We're going to call it skills. Oopsie, I didn't save it. Oopsie. Call it skills, create. There you go. Okay, now you have room for your skills there. Now we could throw in inspiration, proficiency bonuses, saving throws, all that stuff. What I think I'll do is I won't put in saving throws and the passive wisdom and the other proficiencies and languages. This bottom one, other proficiencies and languages, could probably go in with character details, but for sure we should probably throw in some kind of proficiency bonus and inspiration. And we can add other things if we want to. And there's that little extra space right over here for that room. So that works out perfect. So let's just take a step back and look at it. I've always say this in all my streams. It's always best to take a zoom out, take a look at it. You might want to move things around if you want. Again, I'm leaving the skills right next to where the ability scores are, because ability scores affect skills. So putting them next to each other kind of makes sense. Let's go ahead and quickly save, and we'll go ahead and add in these next parts, and we can try to fit in the last two sections, the action and the character details. So let's go ahead and throw those in here. Let this open up. Again, please, 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 if you have suggestions, ideas, if you're working on a character sheet and you have some cool ideas, share them in the chat, because I really want to hear what people have to say. I'm not the only person who makes character sheets, other people do too, and I want to hear how they approach these kind of things as well. I think that makes it fun. Okay, so let's go ahead and add in, again, your inspiration and proficiency bonuses. What's really cool is that we already have like this HP kind of stat right here, and this already might work just fine. So we can just copy and paste this and put it right here. And then what we can do is just switch it around. We'll switch it and face it this way instead. And then instead of the text being inside of the circle, we'll put it inside of the banner. That should make it easier to work with. So this way you want to use different types of, you want to use a lot of the same elements. Again, so you just copy and paste. That makes it a lot easier to work with. So that first one was inspiration. We'll throw that in there. And I want to make sure that I can kind of fit it in there. So I'll push this all the way over to here. And I'll have to scale it down a little bit to fit it in. So inspiration, 1. We're going to copy. We're going to paste. We'll put another one right down here like this. And we'll go ahead and just make it so it's somewhat level here. And I believe this one is going to be your proficiency bonus. Okay, bonus. Oopsie, I spelled proficiency wrong. My bad. I don't even remember how to spell proficiency. Let's call it pro bonus. There we go. Okay, just to fit in there. Don't be afraid to do shorthand stuff, by the way. I feel like shorthand is okay, especially if your players are not new to it. They're going to understand just fine what that means. Okay, let's check out the other extra stuff in here. Saving throws. I think I'll kind of leave that out for now. For now, let's just kind of put this over to here, and then we'll go ahead and add in the other stuff, and then we can arrange it as we see fit. Let's use these. Oh, you know what? Someone said to use a, let's see, who was it? It was Levin. Yeah, that's absolutely, or not Lavrin, it was Total Rogue who mentioned it. You can totally use these shields right here. Oh, did I spell sleight of hand? You're right, I sure did. Thanks for catching it, by the way. Appreciate that. Thank you. I used the wrong kind of sleight. Thank you. Oopsie, that's not right either. Come on. There we go. Thank you. I appreciate it, by the way, Vunjo. Good. I am not afraid to mention when I make a mistake. Believe me, I will. That's just all part of it, right? Okay, let's undo that. Move this out of the way. Make sure that there's room. Now that I've added an extra E in there to the proper spelling, it was going off. So like I was saying, you could totally use like these shields and stuff right here to kind of make various types of things as well. So you'll notice these right here. So these will work just fine. We could use this for our AC, our armor class. Let me just go ahead and open this back up here to make sure that I'm in here. You could use these for different things. I think especially for your armor class, I think using the shield makes sense because it's armor. A shield is a part of armor. So I think it makes kind of sense to make that, it's going to be your armor class. And the way that we'll do this is that we'll have a banner as well. And we'll put armor class inside of the banner, and then you would put the number of the armor class within the shield itself. So we'll just go ahead and put an armor class. Bingo. There's one. And then the other two could be shields or different icons. I'm just going to use the circles for now. And what I might do is bring the thickness of them down just a little bit. I'll bring the size up. Make sure they're around the same kind of size here, like this. And then just like I did with the AC, I'll add, instead of having the banners jutting out from the side, I'll have them be underneath. So we'll copy, paste. Make sure they're on top, so go up a layer. Copy, paste, put another one right here, like this. Okay, make sure there's room. Okay, perfect. Okay, let's go ahead and throw the next one in here. We'll throw in speed. You could even throw in like little icons to kind of represent things. The reason why I used parchment is because you can totally use these kind of icons to kind of represent like a symbol for it. So for speed, you could like totally make like a shoe icon using stamps. And that way it kind of looks like it represents their speed. Just, you know, you could do that. I didn't add that into this one because it would have made this stream an extra hour longer. And I didn't want to make it that long. But I mean, it's just don't limit yourself. I just wanted to teach the basics in this one so that way it's kind of easy to put these together. We'll do speed here. If you kind of feel that there's not a lot of room or there is too much room, you could always change the width to fit the text itself, by the way. Always remember that you can always do that as well. And that last one's going to be initiative, isn't it? Okay, we'll add an initiative. Oh, it fits in perfectly. Great. So now I can just go ahead and group all these. In fact, I think I'm going to make the armor class bold. There we go. So it just pops out more. So create group, create group, create group. Okay. So now you can kind of use, oopsie, did I accidentally lock something? Oh, it must have not grouped, my bad. Create group, create, there we go. Are they all selected? Perfect. Okay, cool. And I better group these as well. Create group. And create group. There we go. Oopsie. There we go. All right, so now I can move these around as I see fit. Like if I wanted to, I could move these somewhere else. Okay? I could even move these three elements over here, like this, to be over here. You know, I mean, it's just, It really depends on the orientation, where you want things to be. I could move this stuff down to here and then just kind of move this like this. And then I could go ahead and move this over to here like this. And then I have this. So you see, the trick is to just play around with things to make things fit. So I was able to fit the armor class, speed, initiative, plus the inspiration and the proof bonus, the proficiency bonuses, all into this little space right here. So really just be creative, have fun with it. Okay, looks like we're getting close. What do we have left here? With this one, I think I'll add just attack, spells, and equipment, and then the personality stuff. So let's quickly save it. 70 changes. Awesome. Making a character sheet is fun, especially when you start getting into the different types of themes. Again, I just simplified this because it would have taken forever to make a more themed one. And we could totally do that. We could do a masterclass where we're going to do themed character. Think of this as like the introductory class or introductory masterclass to making character sheets, because there's just so many ways, because we're probably not going to be able to get to some of the other things. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look here what we're going to do. Let's go and throw in attacks, spells, and we'll also throw in equipment. So what I'll end up doing here is I could probably just take this square right here, or this rectangle, and just copy and paste it and then flip it like this, and then kind of use this as my skills and attacks, and then flip or copy and paste, and then put it down again, and then this will kind of represent my equipment. And I'll show you how to put together some icons to show how to put things together. So let's go ahead and push this down over here. What I'll do is we'll stick with that continuity. We'll use this banner right here to kind of represent each thing. Just make sure it goes up like this. So skills and attacks. Or I think it's spells and attacks, isn't it? Yeah, attacks and spells. But you could call it spells and attacks. It doesn't really matter the order in which you do it. Spells and attacks. I knew if I was going to type stuff, I was going to end up embarrassing myself one way or another. Okay, let's go ahead and just remember this. You can always play with the length of it by just playing with that transform to fit everything in there. Okay, perfect. And then we'll type in equipment. Oopsie. If I could spell equipment. Here we go. Okay. There we go. So now you have your spells, attacks, your equipment. That kind of goes well together. Let's go ahead and move this skill thing up a little bit. I feel like we're getting tight. I want to have at least some space in between each element. And then I'll obviously want to group things. Create group. I'll just call this spells and attacks. Obviously I didn't label everything. I just wanted to make sure that I got some speed here to get things done. Create group. We'll call this equipment. Now within your equipment and skills, within these ones, you could use, again, like some lines, copy and paste, put some lines in here. Again, when you're putting down lines, don't forget to use the grid. And then you can go ahead and just kind of put in here. And again, we can just snap to grid, and this way this will line up. In fact, I'm not going to use snap because it's not lining up with the center of it, and then just copy and paste, copy, paste. Copy, paste. And this is how you kind of put together, again, putting lines into it. If you want more space for writing, just remove some of the lines. Just kind of remember that trick there. There we go. And so you have those things there. And then we can just do the same thing. We'll just select all of it. Copy, paste. Open up this one. Go back in here like this. And then there you go. If you don't like it that way too, you could also do segments. So let's say that I want to go in here. I want to grab this circle right here. Like maybe you're doing slots for your equipment. Then I recommend just doing it this way. Go ahead and take the opacity, bring it down so it looks watermarkish. And then these can be like spots for your equipment. Like if you're drawing an image, or if you want to use text, you can do that. So you can just go in like this and just copy and paste. So these are little sections for equipment. And the names, you can do that. You could do lines. There's so many different ways that you could fill in the inside of a field so that way you can use it. So this is kind of one way to do it. You could add that or add the lines. It's really up to you. Let's step back and take a look at it without the grid. It's always nice to take a look at things when you're done, so you kind of see it. Let's go ahead and open up equipment again. And what we'll do is personally, I like the lines better than that because I like to stick with some continuity. I've already got these lines here, so it always kind of makes sense to add them. So I'll just copy and paste them. Open up here, turn that grid on again. Copy, paste, put it down here. Okay, perfect. There we go. And just make sure that they're kind of centered. There we go. Okay. And the last part is if you have all this information. Now, when it comes to personal information, whenever I look at personal information, it just depends on how much your player wants to put in. I've kind of noticed that players who aren't quite as into it as others will add less information. So really you could cater it. You could add all these extra sections, but your players may not fill out everything. It just depends on the enthusiasm, on how much they like their character. I generally try to add in basic things like personality traits, ideals, bonds, flaws, features, and traits, but there's so many that you could add. Because we're kind of running out of space now, what I'll end up doing is probably not adding so many, but what I will do is to make sure that I have some room to kind of fit in some space. And it really depends on the person's handwriting, but I'll make a bunch of little tiny spaces here and we'll put them tightly together like this. And we might be able to fit 4 of them in there. Let's see, I might have to fit even more. This way. And then I might have to push this up a little bit to fit it in. In fact, might even have to scale them down a little bit. Yep, that's not going to do. All right, so I'll have to make them a little bit smaller and I'll have to scale them just a little bit. Just want to make sure that I can get room for them. There we go. I think that should be enough space. Now I can just copy and paste and put them in. Where are we at for time here? 56. Oh, we're almost done. Perfect. Great. The timing is good. Just want to make sure that we weren't here taking forever to make these. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. And then from there, what you can do, again, is just use the banners and put I'm going to put them off to the side. I notice that if I put them right here, they might clash with each other. But if you put them right over here, and let me change the transform as well. If I just put it right here, over in the corner right here, on the side, this should look okay. And it's okay if they overlap a little bit. And then and then you need to decide what you feel is the most important stuff. I kind of feel like personality is an important one. So let's go put that in there. What makes personality important for me is that this helps you to kind of keep your character, to stay in character. If you know their personality, then you know how to take on that character. I think ideology or ideals is important. That's also going to play a role in how you're going to role play your character. We'll add in a couple other ones. I think we'll throw in bonds or friends. I think that's also a good one. And then because we have bonds, let's also put in enemies or arch nemesis if you want to, just for fun. Arch nemesis. Okay, and I'm going to change the text here. Okay, there we go. And then you can go in and just select all of these, create group, and we'll call it Kara or Kara, just short for character, and then character info or details. Up to you, okay? All right, now we just need to take a step back here, turn the grid off. And if we take a look at it, we'll see that the thing overall comes together well. We're going to go ahead and quickly save it. We'll go quickly look over it, and then we're going to call it good. But I think overall, this was a good kind of setup. Remember what I said, those 4 sections: basics, ability scores and skills, attacks, spells, equipment, or what I call your action panels, and then your character details. So I cut it up into those 4 sections. When you're doing your layout, you pick your aspect ratio. Again, I usually start with portrait because it's going to be printed out on a piece of paper. But of course, you could totally have it be landscape. It's just up to you on how you want to go about it. I totally recommend that you start with the character profile image first, the base where it's going to be put, and that way you can maneuver things around it. That's going to be the first part, right? That basics. After you've done that, and you'll put together the other part of the basics, which is your health, your MP, your class, race, alignment, faction, background, and whatever kind of things that you want to add. Yeah, you don't have to add arch to it. You could totally just put nemesis. I totally agree with you, by the way, Xanderfell84. Totally, you're right about that. I agree. It doesn't have to add arch nemesis. It could just be fiend enemy, mortal enemy. It could be nemesis enemy, whatever it is you want to be. I totally agree with that. So then once you put together your basics, then you'll put together your skills. And the skills, again, are determined by your base stats, your ability scores. Then you'll go ahead and add in your inspiration, your your proficiency bonuses, armor class, speed. And in fact, I'm going to move some of this up a little bit. Notice how much room I don't have here. So I'll just push this up. And now we've kind of made a little bit more room here. That's good. It was kind of seeming a little tight. So that kind of cleared that up a little bit. And we had some great suggestions from people in chat. One of them was to put the ability scores around the profile. A lot of character sheets do that, and I personally think that looks great. Kind of makes sense to have their abilities, base abilities, right next to that. I also feel that it's, we also had someone mention using a shield for the icons, like the armor class here. Makes sense to use a shield. It's armor class. A shield is a part of your set of armor. So it only makes sense to use that, right? So just kind of remember to figure out the different sections, make them first, and then group them, and then you can move them around. Because now that I've put everything together, I can just maneuver things around. I could have my spells and attacks be in the top right corner. I could move my skills up to the right corner. I could move everything around. It starts first with just making each section, grouping them, and then maneuvering them around. That's how easy it is to make a character sheet. The only thing that makes it time consuming is just putting in all the text. Now you notice that it only took 1 hour to make this. So character sheets don't take too long. It just depends on the patience and how much you're putting in. If we had added in those extra elements from this character sheet, it probably would have taken you probably about 1.5 hours if by following this method. If you were to add in a theme with more details and icons and images, then it would probably take you around 2 hours to 2.5 hours. It definitely, if it feels more modern, totally understandable. To add a fantasy element, it's okay. So this is just kind of the basics. If people like this stream, this masterclass, we could always do another masterclass that's going to cover on a theme with more details. And I don't mind taking a little longer than 1 hour. If people don't mind, that's fine with me. All right. Well, that is it on how to put it together. Now, all of those examples that I showed you here, all of the examples of all these different skill sheets, including this basic one right here, I'll include that in the video description when we add it to YouTube. Thank you, Jonathan Frost. Thank you, Xanderfell84, Vuno, Laverne, Jonathan Frost, Totally Rogue, Nimue, all of you. So glad that you gave suggestions and that you're here. All right. I will see you all on Wednesday when we make a crystal cavern with the fantasy battle map style. Please take care. Merry map making, and I will see you later. Auf Wiedersehen, everyone.